Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1007, January 26, 2023. 52 degrees was the record high on this day. That was 1931. And it was 26 below in 1897. And on this day,
January.
Already you're doing that?
in 2004, we had 7.5 inches of snow.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie.
Thanks, Tony.
Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
Let's go.
I would imagine this would be true of many people, but Bert notes that he and the wife came up with about a half dozen extremely filthy and graphic names for snowplows. But here's the name we like the best. Moving down the road, removing snow truck.
Okay.
And for some reason, the phrase too much free time pops into my head. Okay. I bet a lot of people came up with tawdry names for the snowplows.
I chose to ignore it.
Social media was having a bit of fun with that yesterday.
Oh, were they?
The one I liked was "Gonna Go Get Plowed."
Okay.
That's not bad.
But it's not really a name. That's just a phrase, right?
Right.
A good friend of mine who's a very conservative lawyer once told me that in a tax class, his professor said, just remember, they can't take it all. And it seems as though
we don't know that.
we quite literally are seeing maybe an attempt to take it all.
That's not funny, but
In spite of a surplus, Minnesotans will see their taxes increase, either in a payroll tax or fees.
How can that be?
Well, again, in the old days, this was called a wish list budget, and you could maybe count on things getting whittled down through negotiation. The chances for negotiating, slimming this down, are less than they used to be because of the stranglehold the Mysterians have on all three branches, not all three branches, on the three houses of the governor, the legislator, never mind.
The Senate, the House,
and the governor. And I don't see that this is going to. We're not going to see much relief in this, and the people who paid the taxes will see no Walz checks,
right,
for the most part, and the people who paid the minimum or no tax at all will get a Walz check. You know what? That's okay.
No,
that's okay.
No,
that's okay.
No. Tar, feather, rail, get out of town. Seriously, these guys deserve a good, solid beating. Is what they deserve. Where's the protest, Joe? Where's the protest?
They need a groin kick.
Where's the protest? Where's the masses of people at the Capitol? Where's the uproar?
Time out.
Why are we taking this?
Why is 150 the magic number?
That deserves this.
No, they deserve that in person, a running kick to the crotch.
But look at how easy the sheep are just saying,
That's
okay,
what I'm
it's 150.
saying. That's what I'm saying, Matthew. Where's the protest? Why are we taking this?
Some of the tax and fee hikes would generate at least $1.1 billion combined in the next 2 years. That amount does not include the proposed payroll tax increase that would kick in during the following budget and generate an estimated more than $1 billion a year.
My God, what has become of us? Why do we allow this?
Well,
we're complacent.
You know, this idea of leaving the state and settling down elsewhere really would. I can understand how that would be a terribly appealing and doable for people who could make that happen.
but they know that most people cannot make that happen.
Right.
Well, here's the thing, though, Kenny. Most residents, you're right, probably can't afford to do that. However, businesses can. And that's the effect that we're going to see, especially as it relates to businesses inside of the metro area.
And there goes job loss. There's
Right.
job loss right there.
I mean, we've already seen that happen because of the pandemic, because of crime, and it's going to keep continuing to spike.
Boy, have I been reading some eye-opening things about the vaccines and COVID.
Here we go.
I'm not going to go into it,
Oh,
but it's been based on conversations Brett Weinstein had with Joe Rogan. And I'm sure the euphorians recoil in horror at the mention of those two names. But I would recommend that John Heidt in particular read it. Brett Weinstein is a very gifted scientist. He's not a crackpot.
I certainly wouldn't single John out for this.
Oh, I want John to read it.
I
think
did a bunch of research the
I
other day.
think
so
everybody should read it, no matter which side you're on.
Man alive.
after our conversation the other day.
It's unnerving to read it, isn't it? It's unnerving.
I like to get most of my vaccine updates from Twitter.
Yeah, I'm afraid you do. Let's get back to the topic at hand, which is a real strange tax situation in Minnesota. And I clearly now can understand that people who are able to, I not only would say would move, they should. If they want to enjoy a life of more autonomy and freedom that they have here, this has become a very unique state.
What state would you trade it for?
I live in Wyoming.
I know you're a Wyoming guy, but
I don't know. That's up to individuals, but individuals who look at how we're being governed, I can't blame them a bit if they would decide to say, this is not working out. I'm getting taxed. I'm getting nickel and dime to death everywhere I turn. And it's done. And what makes it so unique is that there is a public face of cheerfulness about it.
Yeah.
There's a public face of acceptance about it. You ask Kenny, we've asked this on the show, why aren't we forming groups of why aren't we becoming our own activists? And the best answer we've come up with is that because those of us who should form our own group of activism are working.
number one.
And so if you complain, you are flying in the face of this public mask of cheerfulness. I doubt very much that Walz is hearing much grief about this.
Oh, in his inner circle?
He's
hearing
surrounded. He's surrounded by like-minded thieves, and I don't say thief lightly. Some of this stuff might be even too much for the thieves. This is amazing. It's just amazing. The guy's got $18 billion surplus, and he's figuring out a way to raise taxes. And the lies we've been told are incredible. There's no such thing as a fully funded education. And he can use as a definition, well, until we have the same outcomes for all students in a classroom, that would be fully funded education. But you can't buy that. You can't buy a kid passing his math test.
Right.
You can't buy that. You can't buy a kid getting to grade level reading. You can't purchase that. There's been too many generations and too much ease that has taken parents off the hook for raising their own children, even down to the fact now where we're going to feed everybody in schools.
Right. Jacob is part of the Garage Logic Town Council.
Yeah.
And Kenny, he's answering your question, why are we not protesting? Yeah. All the people that have reason to protest are busy at work.
I think I just said that.
I know. I'm just saying that here's a guy that's listening.
Well, I know. We'll survive. We've survived in the past.
Oh,
we'll
will we?
again.
I don't know, though, Joe.
When will we reach the point where we won't survive?
What would define not surviving?
You're complacent in this. You going along with this. Well, you of all people should be outraged and raising your voice the loudest. It shouldn't be meatheads like me. It should be you.
I think I have been. So let's break it down.
Bust it.
How will you define?
Everybody.
I know you are. How will you define not surviving this?
Can't pay the bills. Can't put food on my family.
And
Can't make a car payment.
Can you point to not making a car payment because of your tax burden?
One paycheck missed, and it's all over. And that's the majority of us, Joe.
And how would that? Boy, am I really playing devil's advocate?
Yeah, what are you on their team?
No, I'm trying to introduce a note of sanity to a state that is completely insane. So, how much of a tax burden on each paycheck would prevent you from making a car payment? Not you, I'm saying you rhetorically.
1 cent more. 1/8 of a cent if I lived in the metro.
That's another thing Walz wants. So that really sends a signal that St. Paul will get its wish to raise the sales tax. Walz also wants a metro-wide sales tax increase.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to pay for that light rail.
Is this Popeye? There's a breathing tax. There's a blinking tax.
The thing, too, with the $150,000 threshold is the fact that people that earn more than that basically made up of 90% of the income tax accrued, right? We can all be in agreement with that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of those people that, let's say they made $160 as a household. Well, a lot of people that were doing that picked up other part-time jobs and other ways to supplement their income because of how freaking expensive it has become to live in this goddamn state.
Yeah, I can't afford a car. That's okay. We've got light rail. Take the bus, loser.
Where someone's taking a crap on the West Line. Okay, awesome. I can't wait to get on that thing.
Tapping a vein.
Where did I just see a video of some behavior on the...
So that's the one I'm referring to.
Yeah, it's just dreadful.
Guy is actually taking a dump on the light rail.
I didn't see that thing.
Oh, that's what I thought you were referring to.
No, I saw a woman confronting a guy
that was tweaking out because he was drugged up.
Thank God that new 1/8 of a cent sales tax in the 7-county metro is going to pay for that $2.7 billion boondoggle known as the Southwest Light Rail Line.
Yep.
Here's where the activism could find a direction. It's very easy, it strikes me, to point out that the lives of Minnesotans are not better as a result of this political ideology. Our lives are not improved. To break that down, we are told that our lives are improved by the ubiquitous availability of public transportation, most notably light rail. Mm-hmm. Only to have it be discovered that light rail has been home to a criminal element that exists because your same progressive ideologies has been too easy on crime. Mm-hmm. So we have so many quality of life problems that I personally can point to every one of them as a result of a liberal ideology that's gone off the rails. And our quality of life issues are not improving. Our roads aren't improving. Our safety's not improving. Our access to the public transportation might be easy, but you don't want to be on it.
Your cost of living is not improving.
You can't take your kids on that unless you're packing.
And even then, it's not worth it.
Well, Walz, you can't blame Walz for the price of eggs.
No, they've gone up from $1.69 to $4.99.
Or $7, depending on where you shop.
Eggs are still you can do so much with eggs.
We're not doing a food segment.
$7 a dozen? Suck it.
No, you're buying Eggland. You just got to get regular eggs.
Okay.
Do you even shop? Do you have any idea what a dozen eggs cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, not at Jimmy's Club. I mean at a regular grocery
I went to Aldi
store.
last night.
Yeah, we're distracted.
But why? No, I'll go with eggs. Why are eggs so expensive?
I don't
Chickens
know.
are still laying the same number of eggs, aren't they?
Chicken feed.
That's costly now.
Yes.
Okay, and that would be because the components of it are more expensive because of a shortage of it and transportation problems.
Before I go any further, I was reading about this last weekend. Hang on.
What's in chicken feed? I'm gonna.
I didn't mean for you to
Because
completely stop.
there's a reason. There's a reason it went from $1.69 for a dozen eggs to last night at Aldi. I think they were $4.69.
And that's okay with you?
It's not.
I and everybody knows I don't shop. Let's point out that the mayor's a moron. But so I don't know what eggs cost, say, 2 years ago.
$1.50, $1.69.
Matt's on it. He knows.
$1.69 for 12 eggs.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
6 months ago,
Okay, and they're now that same 12 costs what?
$4.50. They're in the $4 range.
That's
Or
a
if you
damn
go
near 300 to 400% increase.
Or if you go to a smaller grocery store in a rural area, they're even more.
Right.
You've got to go to Walmart and places like that to get those prices.
It's a combination of chicken feed prices, avian flu, and consumer demand, basically, in a nutshell.
And so consumers are demanding more eggs than usual?
They also cite the holiday season because of a lot of people buying them for baking purposes.
Well, we had a holiday season 2 years ago.
Right, but it didn't have the same perfect storm that we have right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that perfect storm has certainly been used conveniently by the political class to account for virtually everything.
I'll say, a lot of which they've created.
Did you see where parking is going to be only on one side of the street in Minneapolis?
It's unbelievable.
Got that in the news. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm glad you do, John, but I'll still ask the question. Apparently, you're going to be forbidden to park on the even side of the street between now and April. Is that correct? Okay. My sympathies are extended to these people. Where are they going to park?
Right.
Where do they go?
This happens a lot.
I know it does, but I'm just wondering.
Everybody parks on one side and down on the ends of the blocks.
John, do
And
you have the? Oh, sorry. Kenny.
It's a hike to your car.
Do you have the quote from the? Is it the? What's her name? She was speaking this.
Narrow it down for me.
Sorry, she basically said you just have to talk to your neighbors. Is what her explanation
No, I
was.
didn't see that.
Kelleher?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Just talk to your neighbors and
Talk to
figure
your
it out.
She is the Minneapolis Public Works Director.
Thank you. Yes. That's
Well,
what
she was in St. Paul.
Oh.
I think she has a public works. No, she went from Coleman. Didn't Coleman yank her out of some position and make her public works director? And
We're
this poor
talking,
Kershaw guy that we got now, he doesn't know if he's on foot or horseback. He's probably never shoveled a sidewalk. But to his credit, he is out front taking the heat. He stands there and takes it.
What's her first name?
Margaret
Margaret Kelleher.
Margaret Anderson.
Wasn't
Kelleher.
she city council president?
She
And then she got bumped. I don't know if it was for more money or what, but she got bumped out of that. And the next thing you know, she landed on her feet because these people are incestuous. She landed on her feet as the public works director.
Minneapolis Department of Public Works, former commissioner of the MnDOT, former member of the House of Reps, a member of the DFL party. But that's her current condition.
Yeah, but she was in St. Paul in some capacity.
All right.
But why does that matter? Yeah, she's living proof that you don't have to know anything. You just have to be able to spew bullshit.
Bingo.
Yeah, but I guess I was trying to defend her because she was spewing some.
Why?
Don't
because
defend
she was
her.
spewing some B as in BS as an S based on some experience she had in that field. Where your current guy Kershaw, the poor guy was with the Wilder Foundation. He doesn't know more about shoveling a sidewalk than the man in the moon.
I need you to get more angry, Such. You're not
You know
angry
what?
enough for me.
It's very ironic. I'm trying to lead a life right now
I know you are. I know.
where I've been advised to not take on the world's problems.
You are trying to be our friend Katie Lowry from St. Paul.
Oh, good
No,
point.
I'm not that bad.
I've got the
I know
letter
you
right
have.
here.
Yeah.
You're
well,
hero.
Katie's paying $12 a year in property taxes.
Here we go. How Katie would say you can't park on the even side of the street. You get to talk to your neighbors more.
Yeah. Well, but Katie, God love you. We sure wish we could have talked to you, but we put out the word, and I think it tells something about who GLers are. No one knows this person. We couldn't reach this person.
I see nothing about her in St. Paul.
Oh, gee whiz.
We're talking about Margaret, right?
Yeah, Margaret Kelleher was
she was Speaker of the House years ago.
Right, but she also had some function in St. Paul where she ended up Director of Public Works.
Well, she's permanently on that.
Unless
third rail.
I'm thinking of someone else, which is entirely possible.
No, in the back of my head, I know what you're saying, but I'm on her Wikipedia page and I don't see anything.
You see no history of her serving in some role in St. Paul?
No.
I'm thinking of somebody else then. I apologize.
If you're offended.
If you're offended.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wait, what is this? Do you have the Star Tribune
I do.
piece open?
It's right here in
The
front of me.
bump A8 car tab
I can
fees.
turn to page A8.
Card tab fees, yeah.
Car tab fees.
Yeah. Are they going up?
My God. Oh my God.
I got it right here.
Yeah.
Beginning on Jan 1, 2024, Walz proposed bumping the first year of registration taxes to 160% of the manufacturer's suggested retail price of the car. In the next year, he proposed a tax of 100%, which, by the way, is where it is now, dropping 10 percentage points each year to 20%. The minimum, if it's over 10 years old, $30. The increase would bring an additional $286 million over the next biennium.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money, and it doesn't seem like it is. Representatives at the conclusion of her term in 2011.
You're talking about Kelleher.
Yeah, she left the House of Representatives at the conclusion of her term in 2011, re-entered politics when she ran for the DL nomination to the U.S. House of Representatives in the 5th Congressional District, losing to Ilhan Omar.
Right.
Since 2019, has worked in transportation management roles for the government, first as commissioner of MnDOT and later as director of public works for the city of Minneapolis.
Okay, I don't know where I got that in my head that she was had something to do with Chris Coleman appointing her. I'm totally wrong about that. I guess I don't know who I'm thinking about.
Were you thinking of Callahan?
No.
Oh.
I have not driven on residential Minneapolis streets lately. Are they as bad as St. Paul?
I just did it on my way here. It's a gong show.
All right. But it's rutted and what have you.
There was a guy trying to back up and back into a spot, and the middle portion,
Yeah, you can't get out of the ruts.
you can't even get out of it. He couldn't, and it had a front-wheel drive vehicle. He was just spinning.
After I left the show yesterday, I talked to a source who I will continue to have nameless, retired snowplow driver in St. Paul. He said one of the principal problems is that as recently as 2 or 3 years ago, there were 80 plows in the city proper. There are now 55. and there's a shortage of drivers. And what they used to do is they would, in times of serious problems, they'd bring out other people to help drive the trucks. And I said, what do you mean by other people? And he would say, well, sewer people or this or that.
Sure.
People who ostensibly had some knowledge of a truck and a street. Yeah. And he said that's not happening as much as it used to. So what I took from our conversation was that as much as I'm going to continue to not blame literally the plow driver, it's not his or her fault.
It's administration.
It's administration has, and then this gets back to what I've insisted, that these kinds of, there's no glamour for the modern politician to worry about streets. The glamour comes from being the vice president of inclusive excellence and the head of equity and sustainability culture, and that's where the glamour is. They think there is no glamour in making sure a street light works or a street is plowed. That's not glamorous. That's hard work. Whereas these meaningless cabinet positions are absolutely not hard work at all.
What are they doing?
Because they're never measured for what work they accomplish.
But you know
and what do they do? What's their day-to-day
They don't do
work?
anything.
They're playing office.
Yes.
So Positive Thursday,
Yeah.
you had 80 snowplows.
Yeah.
Now you have 55. That's less snowplows you have to name.
That's less spewing.
No, he's talking city plows.
That's a real stretch, Reavers.
I was trying.
You better take your break.
Okay, sorry. Hey, GLers, it's Reavers here, and you've heard me talk about my relationship with Josh Arnold for quite some time now. And the reason I advocate that you give Josh a call is simple. Well, actually, it's two reasons: trust and results. Josh has seen it all when it comes to economic and market conditions. As he says, past results do not guarantee future returns. While that is true, Josh can make sure that your retirement objectives match your investments. And you can trust Josh to make sure that you are not paying more in fees than you are selling in returns. Yes, that is more common than you would think. So do yourself a favor by booking a 48-minute free consultation that has absolutely no obligation. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. You will be glad you did.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser. Yeah, just
Yep.
Sometimes I forget we're on break.
I do too.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
just kind of keep doing the
It's
show.
like herding cats.
2 shows in one.
If you don't want to miss, you can sign up for
I love this
the
song.
Garage Logic Town Council.
Here's a guy that wouldn't eat a gummy bear with Kenny's mouth.
That's right.
Joe Souchere. GLers, you have today, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday, and thus ends the great winter whiteout sale at Maple Grove Lock and Safe. Rich is making sure it'll be a white January with a big sale. Centurion, USA, Colonial Safes. They're the white gloss safes, all on sale at Liberty Safes. Made in the USA, transferable lifetime warranties. That's a big deal. Best fire protection in the business. That's probably the biggest deal. And us all being adults, we always ask for the professional delivery and installation. Rich can give us that. The numbers: $300. You're going to save $300 on the Centurion 24, $329 on the USA 36. I think, you're thinking that's pretty good. Save $795 on the Colonial 50. Ding, ding, ding. That's the winner. It's all during the winter whiteout sale. Today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, and then it's all over with. You got to hook up with Rich, the owner of Maple Grove Lock and Safe. He's going to make sure you go happy. You can visit him in his shop, 6901 East Fish Lake Road, Maple Grove. And you can see all the details right there on the website, maplegrovelockandsafe.com.
Child care credit under the Walz proposal. More Minnesotans would qualify for help with child care costs under this credit expansion. It raises the income threshold at which the credit starts to phase out from the current level of $55,300 to $200,000 for a married couple. Walz's administration estimated the changes would boost how much families save from the credit on average from $500 to $1,500. I mean, you can get child care credit if you make $200,000 a year. That seems very charitable to me.
Seems
very generous.
Is that a standard deduction?
I don't know.
How much a family gets phases out the married couple earns more than $50,000? I don't understand. I can't answer it.
Let me revisit what Kenny was reading. Car tab fees. Minnesota law imposes a tax of $10 plus 1.285% of the base value of passenger vehicles, adjusted by a percentage based on the age of the vehicle. All right, it's 100% the first year and declines 10 percentage points. I don't want to read it. I can't.
No,
take
keep
it.
going. Keep going.
Because that affects us.
Yeah.
The flat tax for vehicles over 10 years old and the minimum tax for all vehicles is $35. So if I got a 10-year-old car, that could be a 10-year-old Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
But I'm paying $35.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right.
2004 Honda Pilot, $35.
$35.
Yep.
Beginning on Jan 1, 2024, Walz proposed bumping the first year of registration to 160% of the manufacturer's suggested retail price of the car.
Stop. Okay, that's not what you paid. That's 160% of the manufacturer's suggested price.
Okay, this is math.
Not what you paid.
This is math. I won't do it. Does that mean, okay, a car you paid $40,000, the window sticker on your car was $40,000.
Calculator out.
What's 100? So I'm supposed to calculate what's 160% of $40,000?
Correct.
I would not know how to do that
$40,000
without sending
times
us into an hour-long delay.
160%.
Is 64,000.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $64,000 for
No,
license tabs.
that's the value.
Yeah, that's 160% of 40,000.
That's what they're saying the value of your car is.
The MSRP. They're saying the MSRP is $40,000.
Yeah.
But they want to tax you on the MSRP at 160%, which would be $64,000. You didn't pay $64,000.
Well, there's no car on the lot that would be sold to me for $40,000 if it has a window sticker of 64.
Okay, so let's
I
take the
think you're missing it.
$64,000 and how are they finding what they're going to tax you on? So we're at $64,000, and now what percentage are they going to tax you for those tabs? Because that's what they're saying.
Are they going to tax you on the difference between 40 and 64?
I don't think so. I think they're going to say you have to pay your taxes based on the $64,000 price, whether it's 5%, 2%. I don't know whatever the percentage is.
Let me address something about this that I'm comfortable knowing.
I can be corrected too, by the way.
That I'm comfortable knowing. Walz strikes me as a fellow who didn't come up with this.
For sure.
Somebody came to Walz. I think they're having almost a festival of spending at the state. No, not almost. They're having a festival of spending. Mm-hmm. They're dreaming up ways to spend more and more and more money. So somebody got to Walz, or somebody got to a person who can get to Walz and said, let's throw in these new license fees. And so they come up with this, whatever that equation.
Read that sentence again.
Minnesota law imposes a tax of $10 plus 1.285% on the base value of passenger vehicles.
Okay, what is that percentage? 1 point.
It's a tax of $10 plus 1.2% of the base value of the vehicle.
1.2%. Okay.
Adjusted by the age of the vehicle. It's 100% the first year and declines to 10 percentage points each year until it hits 10%. The flat tax for vehicles over 10 years old and the minimum tax for all vehicles is $35. Well, let me stop right there. It really would behoove Minnesotans to drive 10-year-old cars.
Mm-hmm.
There's little incentive if you're minding your budget. There's little incentive for the Minnesota family to run out and buy a $65,000 minivan.
Okay, so
when the same minivan at 10 years old, they'll only pay $35 a year on.
Right. This number is 64,000. So what they charge is $10 plus 1.2% of the MSRP. That would be $768.
Walz proposed bumping the first year of registration to 160% of the MSRP.
Okay, that's where we get $40,000 car is priced out at $64,000. So now tabs now are $10 plus 1.2% of that $64,000, which comes out to be $778 with the $10.
That sounds about right.
And it doesn't matter what you paid for it. It matters what the value is on it. So if you somehow were lucky enough to get a $10,000 car from a relative for $100, you're paying taxes on that $10,000,
right? Not
the $100.
Right. And to prove that that's correct, when you get your tab thing, it says on there what the value of your car is.
Right.
So the 03 or 08 Volkswagen is worth, $28,000 or whatever it is.
Does the value go down if you have a hole in the gas tank?
No.
Yes.
But the
not if you're Walz.
No, you know what? That's a legitimate question, Chris, because if you get a vehicle that's not running at all, not on the road, but if you put $10,000 into it, what am I saying? It doesn't matter if it's running.
Value. Right.
It doesn't matter if it's running. It's the value.
Right.
It matters for your cylinder index.
But here, maybe I'm missing the point here. We just had correct me if I'm wrong, we had an $18 billion surplus, right?
That's correct.
Why is anything freaking going up, including tabs?
We're all
Chris,
in agreement there.
Well, that's where my outrage lies.
Why is anything going up
The
in price?
screaming headline. What's that headline say today?
New taxes. Yeah.
Yeah. Despite the budget.
What the hell is going on?
Right. Where's the outrage?
I told you the other day that I thought it was somewhat ironic. I was having a conversation with a guy. I was walking, and he was walking his dog. He recognized me, and I knew who he was, and we had this chat, and we both know women who've been carjacked, and we were standing on a street that couldn't be driven on. All right? It was just kind of an ironic setup. But the neighborhood I happened to be in was uniformly voting for Walz. Mm-hmm. Okay? Well, then they must not care about this. They must believe this is all reasonable.
Or are they paying attention? Seriously.
The guy I talked to is,
and he's still going to vote.
I don't know that
DFL down
I don't
the
know
ticket.
that he personally. I don't know his politics.
All right.
But I did say to him, "Are you going to run for office?" And he said, "I'm working on it."
Hans is a money guy talking about tabs.
Yeah.
Based on $40,000 MSRP, my calculations say it would be about $778.
Well, Rookie was right.
That's, yeah.
What? Say that again.
Your initial fees are going to be $770.
No, he wanted you to say the part about him being right.
Yeah, Rookie was right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't hear it often enough. But think about that, though. So for 10 years,
$800
but for 10 years,
tabs.
they're ballooning the value of this if this proposal goes through. Meanwhile, if they leave it at 40,000, it's still 1.2%.
What a joke.
And Suits, you just recommended everybody drive 10-year-old cars or older. Ironically, if you don't have the cash to buy a 10-year-old car, you have to go to your bank or your lender.
And get a loan.
And the older the car, the higher the interest rate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Plus maintenance, plus...
And then you've got a lien on a 15 to 20-year-old POS that might not make it through the month.
Let's come back with John.
Hey, I
Heidt.
know a guy that's got one for sale if you're interested.
You SOB. I will come right through that screen. Here it is, the last positive Thursday of the month already. And like usual, it's brought to us by SchoonoverBodyWorks.com. Mr. Mike Schoonover, he's a part-time body shop owner and full-time construction contractor on the horn with us right now from 1060 County E in Shoreview. Hi, Mike.
Hello, Kenny.
I don't know a busier man in America right now. Not only do you have construction going on, you've got a shop full of cars and trucks that need fixing, and this was just announced recently, the North American Pond Hockey Championship on Lake Minnetonka. It starts on February 9th, right out from Maynard's. And this year's beneficiary, did I say that right? Beneficiary, close enough, is, drum roll please, playforpatrick.org. That is fantastic.
Yeah, it's we were interviewed last year. This is the 10th year that the foundation that puts that on has been participating in this, and they actually started it. There was a man by the name of David Bingham who was from Lake Minnetonka area, and he died of sudden cardiac arrest back in 2012.
Oh.
And so his friends started a golf tournament and whatnot to raise money for the family because he didn't have health insurance, and so this group of friends just evolved in a golf tournament, other fundraising events, and then they started the Pond Hockey Championship because he was a hockey player.
Yeah.
And so these folks have been at it for 10 years, and they said this year they wanted to have a heart-related beneficiary. So we were selected, and we're pretty fortunate to be the beneficiary of this year's North American Pond Hockey Championship.
It's so perfect with Patrick and hockey and you, and wow, it just all came together for this. You've had a very busy, I'm going to say, last 6 months with Play for Patrick, haven't you? You've got a lot of press, including national press.
Yeah, our family and all the volunteers have worked really hard to make the foundation be legitimate and successful and do good. And so it's been a little chaotic here of late, but that's a good thing because I think we're all doing good work, and Patrick's mission is making a difference. So it's all good. So yeah, we're just excited to be part of now this event that's going to take place. The pond hockey tournament's going to be February 9th through the 12th.
Yeah.
And they're going to be down at Maynard's, which is a great location, and
perfect.
And they're looking for sponsors. They're looking for people to buy tickets. They got concerts on Thursday night, Friday night, and then Saturday night, and then the John Rich, the guy from Big and Rich, he's performing there Saturday night with Cowboy Troy, so it's kind of a big deal. So, but yeah, they're looking for volunteers. They're looking for players, teams to register and play in both men's and women's divisions and that type of thing. So it should be a really fun weekend, and it'll be, we had a pond in our backyard, and we scraped it every winter, and the kids would be down there, and Patrick would just absolutely eat this up. So it'll be a lot of fun, and his spirit will be there with us.
It's how a lot of us were raised in this state, whether it was a pond or a lake out front or over at grandma's house or a friend's house. We were all raised outside playing hockey on the cracked ice, and you knew you had it good if one of the parents drug a hose down to the lake and gave you a fresh sheet of ice every night. Then you were in high clover, so to speak. But this is wonderful, and we ask a lot of GLers to do this and donate this and volunteer for this. In this case, just show up and have fun. Volunteer if you want to help out, and certainly if you want to be a sponsor, get on board there. But buy a ticket and go enjoy hockey the way it's supposed to be played, outdoors with cold toes. It's fun.
And nipping your nose. That's the best part about it. So.
Always nipping the nose. Yep. And if you have a beard, it gets full of ice before the night is over. The website is playforpatrick.org. And pretty much everything related to, pond hockey, heart screening, and cars. It's all yours at schoonoverbodyworks.com. Oh, and including auto repair, glass service, body work, oil changes, tires. You name it, call up Schoonover Body Works. Nikki will get you hooked up with a service tech. Over 80 years strong in Shoreview and expanding as we speak right now. Construction in progress. Always one of the top shops in the metro. Garage Logic's official body shop, schoonoverbodyworks.com.
Where are we going?
There we go.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
Here's John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. This news is brought to you by Air Mechanical.
And while you can afford it in the state of Minnesota, Air Mechanical has been serving the Twin Cities since 1985 for everything. Heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical needs. They're going to help you also with drain cleaning, duct cleaning, and indoor air quality. Serving the entire metro area from general maintenance to full install, they're going to take care of you. Furnace installs, boilers, heat pumps, garage heaters, and more. Air Mechanical employs top-trained tradespeople in the state of Minnesota, and they operate with full integrity. They do things the right way, not the easy way. Their Total Solutions membership is like having Air Mechanical on retainer. Keep all of your home maintenance needs in one comprehensive membership. Select one tune-up a year and enjoy benefits like discounted maintenance, repairs, service, and equipment costs. Catch problems before they arise and keep your home's mechanicals running smoothly. We'd love it if you gave Air Mechanical a shout for any heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical needs. Call or book online at thinkami.com. Joe, that's thinkami.com.
Johnny?
Duct.
What did I say?
Do they clean geese when they clean those ducks?
What?
Clean fish?
I think so.
John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. In news, follow-up to a story we had the other day and the day before, too. After a plan to demolish one of St. Paul's oldest buildings was put on hold, city leaders have now approved funding to move the structure. On Wednesday, the St. Paul City Council approved $84,000 to disassemble the historic Justice Ramsey Stone House so it can be moved to another location. Attorney Donald Kohler, who owns the lot where the home would be moved, says he plans to restore the home and use it as a home office for his law firm. In the back, you have a question?
Well, as long as you brought this up, this is it's becoming a very interesting story. Starting with the fact that essentially public money is going to be used to preserve this house for private purposes.
That's correct.
Right. Second, Jane Prince, who I've always counted on as being the sane one on the city council. I even emailed her this morning and said, I used to count on you as the sane one. Did you read her quotes about why it's important to save? And I don't care either way if we save this house or not. Did you read her quotes on why we should save the Justice Ramsey house?
What was her quote?
I did not see
Well,
that.
because in the early days, many freed slaves lived there, and porters from the railroad lived there. Okay. And according to the 1940 census, there may have been a same-sex couple who lived there. So this is the founding of the LGBTQ MPCIAD plus minus community. She actually said that.
I think there were lesbians and gay people prior to that.
Who went to the census to find this out?
Yeah.
That was not.
Before the 1940s, there were plenty of gay couples.
No, I understand that.
She's goofy as hell.
Well, it's just.
Sorry, Jane.
Jane, what? Oh, God.
What happened? What happened?
What happened?
So she's basically saying it's a symbol of some type?
Oh, it's a damn near a national monument to the LGBTQRMCPTFG.
Oh, these people are absurd.
But who built it?
I don't know.
Ramsey.
Probably
Ramsey for his brother.
Yeah.
To live there.
And I thought,
Ramsey's
I
a bad
thought we
guy.
were supposed to not like Ramsey.
Right.
In other news,
You were more outraged about that than you were about the previous topic.
How outraged do you want me to get?
I want you at 12.
Hell of a lot more than you
I'd like
are.
you to start throwing stuff, Joe.
No,
Just throw
I
it.
don't. He's too close to me.
Throw it at Chris, then hit Rook in the head with something.
I'm trying to lead a different life.
Why don't you do
Could you
something
at
to
least
help?
use some salty language? It would make us feel better.
No, I will not.
Well, shucks, Kenny.
Dang it.
Gee whiz, Joe.
Minneapolis will institute, as you said earlier, Joe, one-sided parking for most residential side streets starting tonight. Officials say they need restrictions to make sure emergency vehicles and school buses can get through streets that have become more narrow because of all the snow. St. Paul, which tends to have a little wider streets, not declaring any citywide restrictions. I'll go through these. Here's the new rules, which start at 9 o'clock tonight. On streets that are not snow emergency routes, parking will be banned on the even-numbered side. There's no change to parking on the odd-numbered side. Some other narrow streets might have additional temporary restrictions, and they will mark those with signs so you'll know what's going on. Violators could be ticketed, towed to the city impound lot. On snow emergency routes, parking is allowed on both sides unless a snow emergency is declared in the meantime. If they do declare a snow emergency, those special rules will be suspended and regular snow emergency restrictions will be in place.
This is going to result in fisticuffs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it always results in anger and yelling and shout. Oh, it was a daily occurrence on my block.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the route in took me on some city streets, and I almost did it just to get a little glimpse.
Sure.
And there was one guy parked, because he's afraid of getting sideswiped by the single lane traffic that's allowed to go down the main street. Mm-hmm. And he was parked like Bo Duke, going on his side wheels, basically with his right-hand side of the vehicle up in the air.
See that a lot in South Minneapolis.
I couldn't believe it.
Can you park? I bet you can't. Can you park in your own yard?
You're not supposed to, but
I bet that violates an ordinance.
We all do in the winter because the city inspectors seem to leave you alone. But you can't pull that crap in the summer.
No, only if it's a state fair. Then you can charge people to park.
Right.
The suspect accused of shooting a White Bear Lake police officer Tuesday night has a long history of police encounters along with serious mental issues, according to court records. 33-year-old Daniel Holmgren taken into custody early Wednesday morning after an hours-long standoff with police. Authorities say officers are trying to arrest him on an outstanding felony domestic assault warrant. It's connected to charges stemming from a 2021 incident that happened in the same apartment complex. According to the complaint, Holmgren's mother came home from work because she was concerned and fearful of his behavior back in March of 2021. When she got there, he shoved her out of the apartment and called 911. Officers found Holmgren in the hallway where they wrote he was very hostile, referencing guns and shooting officers. At that point, they found a folding knife in his pocket and a large machete in his room. That case has been on hold, though, for the last 2 years. Court records reveal Holmgren has been found incompetent to stand trial due to a mental illness, and the case cannot move forward until he's found competent. And an issue first highlighted by 5 investigates, our friends down in Channel 5, hundreds of people like Daniel Holmgren are falling through a gap in Minnesota's criminal justice system. More on that in just a minute. Holmgren currently under a civil commitment order. Last summer, his family petitioned the court to keep him in court-ordered treatment. The officer, by the way, should be okay after that shooting.
John, question.
Yes.
So while we're awaiting to find out if he's competent or not, where is he? He's not out on the loose, is he?
No, he's in jail.
No,
And he'll
he's
stay there.
under civil commitment. Yeah.
Have any of you followed the story of the 6-year-old who shot his teacher?
And she's now
Yes.
suing the
And
school.
she's now suing the school. This is in Newport News, Virginia.
I have that a little later.
Then I'll wait to
want me to read
comment
it?
until you have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming just the follow-up from yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. What I referenced in the last story, a class action lawsuit accusing the Minnesota Department of Human Services of violating the constitutional rights of dozens of people who spent weeks and months in county jails instead of getting mental health treatment in state hospitals. O'Shea Chairs is the one named party in the complaint, spent 49 days in jail last year after a judge found him incompetent to stand trial in his criminal case and ordered him to treatment at a state-run facility. Minnesota law gives DHS 48 hours to get someone out of a jail after a civil commitment. This took 49 days. Instead, lawyers say Charles has remained in jail for 7 more weeks, denied his mental health medications, and kept in a suicide unit. Lawsuit also includes details of several other alleged violations of the state's 48-hour law uncovered by 5 Eyewitness News. DHS declined an interview request as part of that story, but in a written statement said it's preparing to respond to the class action lawsuit once it's had time to review the issues raised.
It's the 48-hour rule, but with people.
Yeah.
Well, that guy, he's been here forever. Unfortunately, it's the truth because the Department of Human Services is inept.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's a Walz problem, but he won't address it.
Well, we probably have to raise taxes to get to the
Probably.
problem with that.
Yeah.
Russia said on Thursday it saw the promised delivery of those Western tanks to Ukraine as evidence of direct and growing U.S. and European involvement in the conflict. The Kremlin was reacting for the first time to the announcements by the U.S. and Germany that it would arm Ukraine with dozens of battle tanks in its fight against Russia. U.S. President Joe Biden said the tanks pose no offensive threat to Russia. They're only there for the defense of Ukrainians and to help Ukrainians improve their ability to maneuver in open terrain. Ukraine has been seeking hundreds of modern tanks to form what President Zelensky called a fist of freedom that could give its troops the firepower to break Russian defensive lines and reclaim occupied territory in the south and east. U.S. economy finished 2022 in solid shape, even as questions persist over whether growth will turn negative this year. Fourth quarter gross domestic product, the sum of all goods and services produced for the October to December period, rose at a 2.9 annualized pace, according to the Commerce Department's report this morning. Economists say that's a bit better than Dow Jones had expected. Stocks turned mixed after the report. Consumer spending, which accounts for about 68% of GDP, increased 2.1% for this period. Inflation readings moved considerably lower to end the year after hitting 41-year highs in summer. Meanwhile, gas prices are moving up again. Prices peaked at a national average of $4.76 last summer, according to Patrick DeHaan, the head of Gas Buddy. Then some relief came in the later months of the year, but the cents began climbing again in January. The reason, he says, comes down to world events, extreme weather, and simple supply and demand economics. He said the Arctic blast that hit in late December had a pretty big impact on gas production. He said a lot of refineries all the way down into Texas suffered various issues related to cold weather. Typically, winter keeps demand at bay in the U.S., but that's been more than offset by a major jump in demand across the world as China reopened after the government ended its zero COVID restrictions.
Governor Walz sent out a tweet 2 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
A strong economic future for Minnesota means expanding access to affordable housing, building safer roads and bridges, and repairing critical water systems. Our 2023 infrastructure plan gets it done
No, it doesn't.
for the low
You're a
price
liar.
of $3.3 billion.
I really have no problem with an infrastructure plan, but all that other stuff that we're spending money
Thank you, John.
on.
Yeah.
Well, 15% of that is housing and homelessness.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Abigail Zwerner, as Joe said, the teacher who was shot by a 6-year-old student in a classroom in Newport News, Virginia earlier this month, intends to file a lawsuit against the school board, according to her lawyer, alleging the shooting could have been prevented by school administrators. That announcement came the same day that the school board voted to oust the district superintendent, as parents and teachers called for accountability in the wake of the shooting. Zwerner sustained a gunshot wound to the chest when the 6-year-old brought a gun into a classroom at Rich Neck Elementary School and intentionally shot and wounded her. Lawyer revealed new details about the shootings yesterday, saying the administration had been warned 4 times that day by teachers and school employees about the student. There were 3 warnings from school employees about the gun and a warning from Zwerner about the student threatening to harm another child. The teacher's lawyer also revealed another teacher went into the classroom after she was shot and restrained the shooter until police got there. It all started at about 11:15 in the morning. Zwerner went to a school administrator and told them the 6-year-old had threatened to beat up another child that day. The administration didn't take any action at that point or remove the student. Then at 12:30, a teacher told a school administrator she looked in the 6-year-old's backpack for a gun, told the administration she believed the boy put the gun in his pocket before going outside for recess. The administrator downplayed the report and responded that the boy has 2 little pockets to have a gun in them. Shortly after 1 o'clock, a third teacher told administrators another student who was scared and crying confessed the shooter showed him a gun at recess and threatened to shoot him if he told anyone. The 4th employee then asked the administrator for permission to search the boy, but was denied, was told to wait the situation out because the school day was almost over.
Wow.
I don't understand the story.
Zwerner was shot an hour later. She's now at home recovering. Yes.
A parent apparently had to accompany this kid to school every day.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't the parent have known that the kid had a gun?
Not necessarily.
Not if he popped it in his backpack.
Yeah.
Do we know what kind of firearm it was?
That I do
say.
not know. I do not know.
I just find it a terrible indictment of these administrators. Paralyzed by apathy, according to the attorney.
Yeah.
That's a shame. I don't understand how something like that could happen. And if the kid's so screwed up, the poor little guy, why in the hell is he even in a school? I'm sorry, but your child is not fit for this school.
The situation, though, is you don't know what kind of life. I'm not excusing him, but if he had access to a gun, that kind of shows the parental.
My guess is it wasn't really a rock solid foundation at home.
Right.
Yeah, that's illegal in itself.
Yeah, that thing's got to be locked up.
Right.
It was a 9mm handgun, Kenny, if that does you any good.
Yeah, they make those in pretty small chassis these days.
Yeah.
You can get them pretty small. Yep.
Okay. In other news, 72-year-old gunman who sprayed bullets into a Southern California ballroom dance hall, killing 11 people, apparently had no known connection with the victims. According to investigators, they say they're still trying to figure out the motive. Before the shooting Saturday night, Hu Con Tran parked a motorcycle just a block away from the ballroom in Monterey Park, which investigators think he had planned to use as a backup getaway vehicle. That, according to Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna. Tran opened fire on a mostly elderly crowd of dancers at the Star Ballroom, killing 11 and wounding 9. Some reports had said Tran frequented the dance hall and fancied himself as an instructor, but the sheriff said that the man had not been there in at least 5 years and did not appear to target the victims specifically. After about 20 minutes of carnage in Monterey Park, he entered another dance hall about 3.5 miles away. You've probably all seen the video where an employee confronted and disarmed him during a brief struggle. Tran later shot himself in the van where his body was found Sunday morning. Eating fatty foods like burgers and fried chicken can obviously lead to obesity, but maybe not in the way you may think. Researchers now say a high-fat diet and junk food rewires the brain, reducing
That's
our
not
ability.
a positive thing, Rook.
Oh, it doesn't freshen it up. Wait a minute.
No, it's a bad thing, Rook. That reduces the ability.
Always looking for the good.
Yeah.
You're so optimistic.
There is no positive to this story.
I went from such a high to such a low right now in a matter of
I
milliseconds.
saw the glee in
I'd
his
sure
face.
like to hear what John has to say.
Yeah.
It can reduce the brain's ability to regulate appetite and regulate calorie consumption. In other words, it just make you keep shoveling stuff in.
Hi, I'm Kenny.
The discovery could open the door to an anti-obesity pill that targets neurons in the brain. Experiments in rats show that cells called astrocytes control a chemical pathway to the stomach. However, the study suggests that continuously gorging on fatty and sugary products can disrupt that link. They're hoping they can come up with a pill that would help with that.
Did I ever tell you guys, I think I did, that I got a loaf of cranberry bread left on my windshield?
You did.
Here?
Oh, I was out for a walk, and I came back. There was a loaf of cranberry bread on my car.
Oh,
I bet you
jackpot.
chowed that down on the way home, didn't you?
I ate it, every bit of it.
Come on.
It was
You
good.
didn't know who it
No,
came from
you
and you ate it?
didn't.
Nope. And the note said, I don't always agree with you, but something to the effect of, I'm glad you're writing and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, what the hell?
And may
I
you
might
choke
try
on
it.
this cranberry bread.
That was
not-
nice. It was
Okay,
really
nice.
nice.
That's positive.
It was around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
The Joe I know would have grabbed that thing and tossed it like a football into somebody's yard and been on his way.
I don't know why I ate
caught
it
him
now
on a
that you
good
think
day.
about it.
Because you-
everything anybody's ever trying to give you with food, whether it's in that
Yeah, thank
studio
you.
or
Thank
at the
you.
state
I
fair
know.
or wherever, I'm not eating
Even if it's a
anything somebody else
brand name
gives me.
wrapped package, you won't touch it.
I know. I can't account for my behavior.
I'm not about the food, but listeners out there, keep the booze coming, okay?
Jesus.
Joe, perhaps you said, you're trying to change, so maybe, it's all part of that. Huh?
Maybe.
I think we're just going to have to start calling him Katie, huh?
Yeah.
A new book coming out for Beatle fans. Paul McCartney will release a new book of photography this summer called 1964, Eyes of the Storm. It features 275 of McCartney's photographs from 6 cities taken in 1964. The collection will include all never-before-seen shots of John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, right as the Beatles' career began to take off across the world. 1964 Eyes of the Storm will also include a foreword by McCartney, as well as an introduction by Harvard historian and New Yorker, essayist Jill Lepore. There are additional essays by Nicholas Cullinan and Rosie Broadley. It'll be available in June. McCartney's photos will also be displayed for the first time later this year at London's National Portrait Gallery. Paul McCartney photographs 63 to 64. That'll run in the gallery from June 28th to October 1st.
I think I know who left the bread, which weighs in on my decision.
Ah.
I don't know for sure, but I think I do.
The
I think I do.
Garrison.
No, wasn't
No, wasn't the Garrison? No. Okay.
Kenny, I'm a little surprised. No Beatle cheap shot in the story John just read.
I was thinking about proposing if you had the power of Christ and you could erase one musician's death since, I don't know, go back to 1965. What musician would you bring back?
I'd need to erase 2.
No,
You
got
only
one.
get one.
Michael
You've got
Jackson.
one.
Hello? What happened there? I
Are
didn't hear
you there,
guys.
John?
Yeah, something happened where you guys sounded like Martians.
Oh,
Joe would need to replace 2 is the last thing I've heard.
No, you only get to do one.
I would replace Harrison and Lennon so I could still see the Beatles, but I'm not allowed. I'm only allowed 1.
one. Yeah, John, who would
Well,
you
then be
bring back?
Lennon, wouldn't it?
Boy,
Not necessarily.
Oh.
are we talking unnecessary deaths or just deaths in general?
A dead musician. Don't belabor this. Just give me a name.
I would really like to see where Jimi Hendrix would have gone. That was the one
that's a
thing I
good
always
one.
wanted to, just because I know he always was trying to expand his, what he was doing.
Yeah.
So I'd be on that list. If you made me think about it longer,
I'd have to go with that, I think. I'd have to go with that.
I might have to change if I thought about it, but
Dylan.
but
wait,
Hendrix,
he's alive.
He's still alive.
still
too.
here.
He just sounds like he's dead.
Just make
Great
him
album.
legitimate
So you're who?
again.
2 years ago.
I'll go Hendrix.
John, you're Hendrix too?
I'd go Hendrix probably at this point. yeah.
Kenny?
I wouldn't bring anybody back.
Here we go.
Wow.
I don't know. Probably Cobain. I don't know.
Oh, God.
What's wrong with Nirvana? You like Nirvana.
Well, I know, but that was going nowhere.
Mine is because he was taken away probably in his prime, but I think he still had more work to do. I'd say George Michael.
You are such.
I think George was past.
Always
his
going
prime.
for the laugh. You can never
I
be
think
serious.
John Lennon for me, for sure. That's
Whatever.
stupid.
I don't know what brought this up.
It was actually a Super 70s poll, but he was asking for 3 of them. You could bring 3 back.
3. Wow.
Yeah, from a few days ago.
Well, Joe would be Lennon.
It's always been my fantasy to see the Beatles perform with real equipment just like a modern group.
Do you think they could have set that
on
up?
a big stage and see what they would? I bet it would be fantastic.
Would they have cashed in, you think?
Well, they
For
would,
one tour?
they wouldn't have needed to. I just wanted to see them perform with modern. I mean, they performed. The most of stuff they ever had was on the roof of Abbey Road, and that could have fit that into a 1957 station
But
wagon.
still, that was the performance I was going to bring up.
You know, there was.
I've watched that so many times. My goodness.
There was the viral tweet that had put the 2 pictures side by side of McCartney and then also of Mick, and said, "Who says no to pairing those 2 together?" Saying basically, one's without a drummer and a bassist. And, you know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
No.
Pairing those 2 bands together.
I saw the picture
There's
with
no
McCartney
you don't
and
replay.
Ringo.
You know,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
the other
you
one
said
with
Jagger. Yeah.
Well, and I said side by side with Jagger.
And then
You
the
guys say
second
no to
poll,
that? You guys say no to that?
the second poll from the 70s is whose wife would you remove from life if you had the chance?
Yoko.
Okay. Okay.
I got no issues with Yoko. You guys are.
John?
Oh,
You know
sorry.
that Yoko
I'm
was
not biting on that hook, John.
Yoko and Roberta Flack were fast friends.
No
Really?
kidding.
Roberta Flack lived in the what's that famous apartment building they lived? The Dakota. The Dakota. Yeah.
Oh, Yoko.
You ever do that again? Don't bother coming in here. John,
Just one more Beatle point, if I may, since we're talking about the Beatles now.
No.
Kenny, you pointed out that on the Get Back thing, the rooftop thing. I thought to myself, this is bleeping amazing.
Yeah.
And they were such an amazing band. And I thought, well, maybe it's just me and when I grew up and my thoughts. So I asked Dill, and Dill said, no, it's amazing. I don't care who they are. This is a rock and roll band like it should sound.
It was every time I watch it, it's like the first time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to see them
Oh, God.
10 years after that with modern equipment and modern speakers and all the
Auto-tune.
tricks of the trade, all the
That
tricks
would've
of the
been cool.
concert
In
life.
in a club. What was Ronnie Scott's in that club? That's where I'd like to see him.
That's
Something
where
like that would be.
the guy
That's where
sent me a really neat video
of Beck, yeah.
Beck playing there.
Yep.
There are tons of great jazz videos from that club. Just wonderful.
Where is
stuff.
Scott's? L.A.?
London,
Or New York,
isn't it?
or London?
I believe it's in London. Yeah,
yeah.
It's in England. I'm not sure what city.
All right,
but I
thank
think
you. We'll be back shortly.
But
Okay,
first,
bye.
I need to tell you, just as great as the Beatles is quality water inside
I
your
think
home.
so.
And that would be from Hofferman Water, Joe, an independent water treatment dealer. Hofferman offers sales, service, and rental units for Connecticut water treatment systems. That can include everything from water softeners, iron, rust, and odor filtration systems to brand spanking new drinking water systems. A new system from Connecticut can do so many things that other water softeners just simply cannot do. You know that it's going to cut down on your salt usage, but did you know it will protect your appliances? That's right. You get that new system from Connecticut and Hofferman. And Viola, your showers are better. So is your laundry and, of course, your drinking water. So get in touch with my friends at Hofferman Water today. I have been a proud customer of Hofferman for years, and I know you will be too. It's made an amazing difference in the quality of my water. 952-894-4040. That's 952-894-4040. Or just visit their website, HoffermanWater.com. Hofferman Water has been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years. Tell them you heard about them here on the Garage Logic podcast. Dun, 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 dun.
This guy wears many hats, just not indoors. Joe Souchere.
Only because they come to us all the way from Marlow Park in Mpumalanga,
Reavers,
South Africa.
Slow down.
Come on, Reeves.
from the traveling linemen. On this day in 1836, Lucius F. Hubbard
January 26th.
was born in Troy, New York. After arriving in Minnesota in 1857, he established and edited the newspaper Red Wing Republican and served as a general in the Civil War and in the Spanish-American War. He would be the 9th governor of the state, serving from 1882 to 1887. His second term lasted 3 years to cover the legislature's change to biennial sessions. During his tenure, the Railroad and Warehouse Commission was established. He died Feb 5, 1913, and Hubbard County is named for him. Hennepin, Houston, Hubbard are your H counties.
Got it.
Hank.
On this day in 1861, Frank O. Loudon was born near Sunrise City.
Who was he?
And later moved to Illinois, where he became a lawyer and married Florence, a daughter of George M. Pullman, the wealthy inventor of the railway sleeping car. After Pullman's death, Loudon would manage some of the Car King's enterprises, serve in Congress, become governor in Illinois, and lost a nomination for president and declined a vice presidential nomination. On this day in 1924, Minneapolis copper George Kramer fatally shot Peter C. Johnson with a sawed-off shotgun in a dark basement as Johnson attempted to crack open a safe he and his assistant, William Carson, stole during a robbery.
Wow.
Yeah. And on this day in 1942, Private Milburn Hankey of Hutchinson, serving with the American Expeditionary Force, was the first enlisted man deployed to Europe in World War II.
Interesting.
A Minnesotan was the first enlisted man deployed to Europe. And finally, on this day in 1949,
126.
Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company, 3M, announced the invention of a machine for the mass recording of magnetic audio tape.
I would have bought stock right there.
Wow.
What year?
1949.
Damn.
Yeah. 74 years ago, you had magnetic audio tape.
I think we were still using first versions of that in Maplewood in the 80s.
So. Yeah, I think we were too. Thank you, GLers.
Kenny always had those razor blades handy. I never understood why.
Yeah. They were good for many different purposes, Matthew.
Speaking of the Garage Logic Town Council, Ruck.
I love the town council. My son is a member of the town council. My son bought his girlfriend's mother a membership in the town council. And yes, they did pay retail. For you, for just $10 per month or $100 per year, you're going to receive access to 24/7 members-only live audio stream full of live recordings of Garage Logic, best of segments, replays, cuts, liners from the staff here.
That's right.
Yeah, very personal.
We just need to do a few of those after the show today, right?
Yes, we do. Full show audio archive, including before and after the show, between segments content, and that stuff is priceless. That's worth the price alone. Receive a weekly newsletter from the mayor, $10 Fratelloni Hardware and Garden Center gift card while supplies last. Just go to GarageLogic.com and become a member. Come on.
What?
Get your cha in gear.
It is time once again to check in with Mr. Money Talk Josh Arnold, and now's the time for you to do the same. So pick up that phone and make that call for that free 48-minute financial consultation by doing just what I did. Dial 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. You call that number and you get the best in the business. You get Mr. Money Talk, but you're also going to get straight talk. You're never going to get sugar-coated advice. And Josh is on the line with us once again here in Garage Logic. And Josh, some surprises today on the economy and earnings.
On the economy, Chris, yes, there were some surprises. I think big surprise was the quarterly GDP number, which was estimated for the gross domestic product to rise about 2.8%. Instead, it rose 2.9%. But consumer spending continued its trend downward. That was only up 2.1% versus 2.3% that was estimated. Someone might say, well, how is GDP number continuing to go up when the Fed has raised interest rates in an effort to not only combat inflation, but to slow the economy down? GDP growth at 2.9% is pretty good and a good chunk of that GDP number comes from housing. But housing continued to come down. That hurt GDP numbers. But what was up was boosts in government spending, as well as some private investment on the part of corporations that gave that a nice boost. Now, with a GDP number this high, with unemployment still low and consumers still spending, questions, might be coming up. Is a recession that is most talked about or has been talked about continually, that the United States is going to go into a recession sometime in 2023, sometime in the spring, or at the latest by the summer. Is that still on the horizon? Given by some of the economic numbers that have been coming out, that might be questionable. Indeed, however, if you look at other measures in the economy, you can see that there has been slowdowns in numerous sections of the economy, from industrial production as just one spot of that. So, yes, the economy on one hand is slowing, but due to government spending and even some private investment, we still see things on the rise. In terms of earnings numbers have come in, at least in my estimation, a little bit better than expected. If we're to take a company like Tesla, which reported last night, that stock has been whacked over the last year, being cut in value about 65%. When you're that low, anything positive comes up, particularly with all the short sellers around, that's going to boost the stock price. So Tesla stock is up $12 a share as we speak. They got a nice move up, particularly with better than expected numbers, and their sales price drop on Teslas, could help their sales. And we have heard some positive reports from Elon Musk. I am not a Tesla owner. I still look at Tesla as another car company, not as a technology company, though they use tremendous amounts of technology, as do other car companies. Tesla does face, in my estimation, a lot of competition in the EV space from the likes of General Motors, Ford, BMW, Porsche, Audi, etc. IBM reported last night. I think their report was more mixed than anything else, but it did show that they were taking share with their Red Hat division. They do pay a very nice dividend. The stock is probably cheap on a price-to-earnings basis, but they got hurt as more of an industrial-looking company with job cuts. Dow Chemical, now they missed. That's probably something that goes in the old economy. They missed top and bottom and instituted job cuts there. Another, we'll call it old economy stock, but a member of the Dow Jones, Chevron, which reports tomorrow. Their stock was up big today on the announcement of a $75 billion share buyback, an increase in the dividend rate. And for those looking for a way to invest in energy, Chevron could be a place to be. Again, I'm not a big energy investor, but I do pay attention to what goes on there. Places that I do invest, with my focus on internet-related companies, leisure-related businesses, China-related businesses, and real assets such as real estate. One leisure company reported last night, which was Las Vegas Sands. Now, they missed on the top line and the bottom line, but during their conference call, they were very, very confident in the turnaround happening in Macau. Their miss because they're primarily focused on Macau and Singapore, and we'll say the Far East, and they have no assets right now in the United States, as having sold their properties here. So they're sitting on a lot of cash, and should Macau move as they expect, that could add dollars to their share price. There are some issues with Las Vegas Sands in terms of majority shares are still held by the Adelson family. That kind of limits what can go on within the company. The Las Vegas Sands numbers did help Wynn Resorts, which will report later, and the other casinos that are here in the United States. Attention to the earnings and listen to some of the conference calls.
Very good advice, Mr. Money Talk. You heard him, GLers. Now's the time for you to pick up that phone and make that call for that free 48-minute financial consultation by dialing 952-925-5608, where you're always going to get straight talk and you're never going to get sugar-coated advice. Josh, once again, thank you so much for the time and the chat. Have a great rest of your day, a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
We got more earnings to come.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.